All right, we're rolling.
Hell yeah.
All right. So the first time we did this was the first time that either of us had kind of sat down and done something like this.
Yeah.
And I think the time kind of got away from both of us. And there's a lot that I know that you wanted to talk about that you didn't really get a chance to talk about. And then we did a part 2. Don't know what happened to part 2. So this is part 2 again.
Part two.
Part 2, yeah. And this time I got a nice surprise for the both of us.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Hopefully these babies are nice and chilled. If not, warm is all right too. So there's a place that I found by my house that, believe it or not, makes pulque.
No way.
So I got
Dude, nice.
nuez,
Nuez? Hell yeah.
and then I got some motherfucking mango.
Badass.
Whichever
dude.
one you want, we can
Ooh.
double dip too.
Yeah. I'll start with the nuez. Good shit, man. Thank you. I was
Hell yeah.
not expecting that.
Yeah,
Holy
dude,
shit.
I'm looking forward to actually trying because I've never been to this place.
What's it called? Is it like
It's
a
no,
legit
it's a
place, or
taco
is it
spot.
some guy
It's called
selling out of his trunk?
De Cabeza. It's like, I don't know, just a taco shop, but it's fucking legit.
Interesting.
Interesting for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely like pretty watery.
Yeah, not as like baboso as most of the pulques I've tried.
The flavor is good though here.
But it does have, yeah, it does have
Doesn't
that flavor.
really taste like mango, but it's still good. Boy, yeah, that one's crazy.
Ooh. I think I like the mango more. The
All right,
nuez
let's
is good
switch.
too.
No, this is my favorite though. Like when I get a paleta or something, I always get the nut.
Gotta get it.
All right, so let's start with the fire stuff because we talked about your time in the seas, and I think we talked about a little bit of kind of firework, maybe some backcountry stuff, but we didn't really talk about hot shotting or too much of that.
Ah, okay, cool. Yeah, so I guess the transition from the seas fire crew to hot shotting, between that, I was on the backcountry fire crew. Did we talk about that last time? Or was
I
that...
think a little bit, yeah, but feel free to go over it
Yeah.
again.
So on my second crew, it was a backcountry fire crew in Montana on the Flathead National Forest. Worked a lot in the Bob Marshall Wilderness Complex. So we were what's called a fire use module. So on the fire use module, you kind of use fire as your friend in order to burn a lot of areas for prescribed burning and also back burning. So one way to get rid of the fuel between you and where the fire is to light it on fire. When the wind conditions are right, when the weather's right, when you know everything's set, you have a good anchor point, and you have a fuel break already set. You know that conditions are going to be right enough in order to light it, and then you set it so that once all that's burned, you know that you have that good defensible space between whatever you're trying to protect and the fire itself. That was a really fun crew because we got to go out into the backcountry like 20 miles out, and on that crew we had a lot of downtime. So we would go out there sometimes on horseback, which was really sweet, mostly riding mules, and we would be stationed out at cabins. And at these cabins, we would go out to different lookouts. We would wrap them with a special fire wrap that made it so that fires couldn't really get to them. And we would set what are called like trigger points. So we would set pumps. They go from rivers and creeks up to sprinkler systems around different structures. Surprisingly, there were a lot of structures in this backcountry of Montana, mostly because there used to be all types of airstrips back there, and people used to fly in with equipment, gear, lumber, and it built a lot of stuff back in the day. Some of those structures are still there, some of them are run down, but anyway, they're pretty historical, so a lot of what we're doing back there, we're trying to protect those. But as awesome as all that sounds, at some point, you're done setting up the trigger points, you're done wrapping, You've done some trail work. You end your day at like 2:30 p.m. Get back to the cabin. You know, the boss brings out a deck of cards and a bottle of Jack Daniels and says, "All right, let's get started with the real work."
So if you guys are going like 20 miles out, how long are you usually gone for?
So a fire roll is typically 14 days. Yeah. So you get 14 days and then 2 R&R days, rest and relaxation. So it's 2 weeks on and then 2 days off. And I mean, that was pretty cool. They recently changed it actually when I was on a hotshot crew to 3 days, which gave us a little bit of extra time. So that was nice. And being in the backcountry in Montana was so cool. Like, we had so much downtime. I mean, I didn't really feel like just drinking every day at the cabin and playing cards. So I would just go out on adventures and say, you know, I'm gonna go check out this fire like from this ridge over here, and boss would say, oh, okay, that's cool. And take a radio, and I'll just go out, you know, and just explore the backcountry of Montana. Saw all types of animals, grizzlies. I saw moose, mountain lions. I saw wolf puppies.
You getting into any crazy interactions with some animals?
Not
Any
really.
more bear stories?
No, in Montana, nothing crazy like that. I would say seeing the wolf puppies was probably like the coolest thing I saw out there as far as wildlife goes. Most interesting, I would say. Nothing super crazy like the bear story or the elephant story. Yeah, but overall, at least for wildlife and like backcountry settings, the Montana fire crew is like the coolest. Hotshot crew is kind of a different story, and after working in Montana, I kind of wanted to change the pace and maybe a little bit more of a challenge. So I decided that I was gonna go for the hotshot crew. I had worked with them when I was in the CCC for one fire roll, and I got on the crew, and I started out as a swamper, which they say is the hardest job. And basically what the swamper does is move all the brush that's cut by the sawyer. So sawyer's running a chainsaw, they're in the front of the line. They're usually making a 10-foot swath for the fire break, cutting logs, cutting branches, small trees, and within that 10 feet, everything that's cut needs to be taken out and thrown to the side. And it sounds easy, but you introduce, you know, a 45-degree grade, slippery surfaces, super hot weather, smoke. A lot of times you're flanking fires, and you know the fire is very close enough to feel the heat of the flames, and smoke's in your face. It can make for some pretty rough country and rough conditions, but definitely a lot of fun. One of the sawyers ended up kind of biting the dust. It was during COVID, and there was a lot of weird things going around, and one day the boss just comes up to the crew and says, won't say his name, but blah, blah, blah. He's out, and, you know, he took a COVID test. He wasn't positive for that, but turns out he tested positive for being a huge pussy. And then basically after that, there was a position open, so then I got onto the sawyer position. So that was cool. I got to run chainsaw on the fire crew.
What are the rest of the guys on the crew like? It's kind of just a mix of
Yeah, it's a huge mix. Like, I think there's an idea that everybody on fire crews are just, you know, total bro culture, and I would say for the most part that's pretty true. Definitely guys there like with a bit of roid rage, maybe just like
I feel like it's
big
funny
egos.
when people say stuff like that about, you know, fucking whatever, firefighters or cops or any people in those positions. It's like, that's kind of the person that you have to be to some extent to put yourself in those situations. And like, not to say that I want a firefighter to be this like fucking macho cocky asshole, but like I would much rather have that dude saving my life than like somebody that's unsure of themselves and like, you know, just kind of pussyfooting around something and like, I don't know, I don't want to get hurt. It's like, dude, that's not really the business that you're in, you know?
No, I hear you. And I wouldn't say they all had the same personality, but they all had a kind of an aspect to the personality. And I would say most of that is just like toughness. They like to challenge, and like, yeah, they were somewhat of bravery. You know, like I think they were there to maybe either prove something about themselves or maybe they just wanted to explore. That's one really cool thing about being on, especially hotshot crew. You get to see parts of the backcountry and parts of wildernesses that you wouldn't be able to see in any other way because you're just cutting your way through the forest or cutting your way through the brush. But definitely you see like a lot of big personalities, a lot of big egos, you know. After the work's over, people go to bars and they'll try picking up chicks with their boyfriends right there. And it's like, oh,
Yeah,
hot
they don't give a
shot.
fuck.
Yeah.
Any good nicknames from these guys?
People on the crew called me Bug. Yeah.
How'd you get that one?
I don't know. It started out as Water Bug, then it turned into just Bug. Not really sure how that one started. You know, people had all types of different nicknames. There's a lot of like bullying on the crew too. Yeah. I think I got out of it. I don't know exactly why. I mean, I was running Saw, so maybe that kind of got me off the hook a bit. But like a lot of the newer guys, like they got a lot of heat from a lot of guys. And like you're in the buggy, which is like sometimes for, 10, 15 hours on the way to an assignment, in the back of like, a truck with a huge box. And, people get rowdy back there. As we're getting to these assignments, people are yelling and screaming. And then, as the days go through on the assignments, tensions get higher and higher. But it's all fun and games. And at the end of the day, like we have a kind of a brotherhood, like everybody looks out for each other. There's definitely a few times where like I felt like my ass was saved because somebody was watching out for me. Like one time, I jumped off the line and I was doing some maintenance on my saw to get back in, and I just hear a crack and hear, "Get the hell out of there!" And I look up, and it's probably like, I don't know, 80-foot tall tree, 2.5 foot diameter wide, from up above, on fire, mind you, just starts coming down in our direction. And everybody jumps down the hill. We're working on a super steep hillside, so we're all jumping down the hill, sliding and rolling down. The thing lands right in front of us and just explodes in this huge fireball. And like, as soon as we look around and notice nobody got hurt, everybody just starts bursting out laughing. And
that's all you can do in that situation.
We get back to work, but everyone's thinking, holy shit, that was close. Yeah. Definitely close calls. Like I saw one of my overheads get slammed by a rock, like on my second assignment. Rock fall is a huge danger. Tree fall is a huge danger. The fire itself, of course, is a huge danger, but that's something you're kind of keeping your eye on. It's a lot of those unexpected things. Sometimes it's like the pitch of the grade you're on is so steep. I've taken a slip and slid down, 60 feet, with a saw in my hand. So,
is that definitely like the most dangerous thing you think out of all the things you've done in your life? Kind of takes the cake.
Professionally, I would say yes.
What's unprofessionally?
Unprofessionally, Well, even from a work standpoint, I think working on a fishing boat in Alaska might have been a bit more dangerous. The guy that I was replacing had mangled his leg to the point where he needed to get life flighted out from the middle of the Bering Sea. So that was pretty gnarly. And I was replacing that guy. And basically all he was doing was stacking fish. They'd package this fish into like these frozen bags. They throw them down a metal slide covered in water, but it's in a giant hole that's completely, it's about 0 degrees, so everything is frozen, has to stay frozen until we get back to dock. So they throw them down these slides and they come down like 15, 20 miles an hour, and if you're not fast enough to pick up these bags when they slow down, and then throw them in their spots around the hole, they start to pile up. Once they pile up, they start turning into ramps. And then next thing you know, you got these flying bags of fish that are frozen, just getting thrown across the hole. Mix that with severe weather,
Fatigue
and
just
fatigue. Yeah, you're on like hour 14 of a 16-hour shift. I've split open my finger a couple times, working in the hole, and yeah, it's no joke. Like a lot of people got injured, people have died, like working on that boat. You know, especially if you're working on the deck and you go overboard, you don't really have too long before you're done. Yeah. So I would say that maybe was like one of the more dangerous jobs I've had as far as like recreational stuff. You know, like rock climbing, and I think done a couple mountaineering expeditions that have been, you know, a little bit hairy. When I was in Montana, I would go out to Glacier a lot and conquer a lot of mountains, sometimes like kind of pushing the limits a bit on what I could do, and scrambling and route finding, and, you know, a lot of exposure. So I think like a lot of the things, you know, in that sense are easy to do, but you take a wrong slip or you go the wrong way, you get lost, you know, there's a storm, what have you, you know, you're a few steps away from something potentially extremely dangerous, putting yourself in a situation that it could be really hazardous. But sometimes it's hard to see when you're just like going step by step. But overall, I've been trying to stay safe. I don't think I'm like too much on the edge where I feel like my life is in danger. But, you know, it's fun to throw a little bit of excitement in there.
You'll know that place when you get to it.
Exactly. Yeah.
You actually just got back from a trip too. You did Cactus to Clouds. How was that?
Yeah, Cactus to Clouds. That was one. Well, it was one challenge I've been wanting to do for a while now. First time I heard about it, I was actually hiking the PCT, and the PCT goes through San Jacinto up from Idlewild. The Cactus to Clouds hike starts in Palm Springs, which is the other side of San Jacinto. And I met a girl on the peak that had just ran it, and it's 16 miles up, 16 miles down. You have the option to take the tram down if you like. We ended up doing the whole thing, so it's about 32 miles total. Biggest thing was the heat, though. You know, starting in May it's not the worst time of year to start, but it is starting to really heat up.
What time of day did you guys have to start?
We started about 3 o'clock in the morning.
Super
yeah,
early.
yeah.
Was it freezing in the morning, or
It
was
wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad in the morning. It was actually pretty warm. We were just we cowboy camped right at the base of the mountain. Didn't sleep much. This like little baby coyote like kept messing with us.
Little trickster.
Little trickster, yeah. That was funny. Anyway, so we started at like I don't know, 2:33 in the morning, whatever. But it was really cool because you kind of start from like this super barren landscape of just rocks and dirt because it's so scorched. It's really hard for anything to grow. And then you start getting into yuccas and various succulents and cactuses. And you start seeing sparse shrubbery. And then as you climb higher and higher, you get into thick manzanita brush, some, you know, live oak, and, you know, climb a little bit higher, start seeing, you know, some firs here and there. And before you know it, you're in the forest and you're on this epic ridge with these huge pine trees. So you get to see like a progression of ecosystems. And from the bottom to the top, it's about a 55-degree temperature difference. So in that sense, it was really cool. Like you're like starting and ending on a different planet.
Yeah, totally.
And, you know, we decided to go down the mountain on foot to do the whole thing, but probably wasn't the best idea in the world. Like the last 5 miles was just horrendous, and I think like around, I don't know, mile 8, my buddy was like, yeah, you know, I think we're getting close to the end, you know, like probably got 5 miles left, you know. An hour or so later, trudging along. At this point, we're not running anymore. We ran probably like the first, I don't know, 10 miles, 12 miles down. And then at this point, we're just cruising down. And then an hour later, we hit the 5 mile marker. And at that point, we're just like, oh no.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, we were just done, dead at the end of that one. So that one was a lot of fun though. And that was like one that's been on my bucket list for a while.
Do you think that's like, I mean, it has to be the craziest elevation change you've done in one hike?
So supposedly it's the hike with the most amount of elevation gain. in the United States. Actually, though, there's another one that I've done that beats it, I think, by a little bit. There's a hike called Telescope Peak, and I think the only reason it doesn't beat it technically is because there's not like a real established trail to get to the top. But Telescope Peak in Death Valley rises up to a similar elevation, around 10,000 feet, a little higher.
Well, are you starting below sea level?
You're starting in Badwater Basin, and it's like, that's actually negative sea level.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that sense, it actually is a little bit more of a challenge. But we headed across that mountain, and we ended on the other side. This one coming all the way back down was a bit more challenging physically. But as far as the elevation gain, I think Badwater to Telescope Peak has got it beat.
Yeah, that sounds gnarly. What time of year do you have to do that? Because I know that Death Valley has some of the hottest temperatures in the whole world.
Yeah, you could start in spring. There's going to be snow at the top, which is insane that you're in like scorched earth, blazing heat one moment, and then next thing you know, you're in snow, which is really cool. It's kind of a cool aspect of the run. But you could also go in fall. I think most people, when they go for things like that, will probably do fall because you know that there's not going to be any snow up there, and the temperatures are relatively cool.
Yeah, right. It's like sort of the coolest it's going to be.
Exactly.
Without being dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So another thing that I had on my list that we didn't get to talk about last time was, I think, your South Africa trip, which I know that you have some good stories from.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, totally. So my buddy told me about this trip, and we had kind of done some light research about it. It's called the Lesotho Traverse. So there's a country within South Africa called Lesotho, and it's on a big plateau. And the trip starts in Maseru, the capital. And it goes from east to west across the country. It's about 350 miles. But we started in Johannesburg. We decided to do a little bit of touring, mostly just in our rental car, checking out different nature preserves. One of the nature preserves we checked out was Pilanesberg Nature Preserve. And there, we were super excited because we were seeing all these cool animals that we had never seen before in the wild. And it's a completely different experience than the zoo. At least for me, it just felt like so much more of a natural, raw experience.
Yeah.
Rather than seeing these animals in a cage.
Sad animals behind a cage.
Exactly, yeah. You get to see them tussling in the water, flying around, or just all gnarled up with all types of bugs and ticks and scars all over them. And yeah, it was a really interesting experience, but we were just so stoked. But because we were so excited, we kind of explored a little bit later than we should have been out, and we were starting to get back in the dark, and we were making our way towards the exit of the park when this huge bull elephant starts coming down the road towards us. And at this point I was like, okay, we're in this tiny ass rental car. I don't want to be a soccer ball for this giant bull elephant. So I pull over as far as I can on the side of the road, and as big as he was, the road was pretty wide. Thought he had enough room to pass by. So we stop, turn off the lights, and turn off the car, and just kind of slowly watched it approach, and kind of thought it's kind of making its way towards us, and it's not really giving us too much space. And as it's making its way toward us, we took out our phones. And we're like, all right, well, at least we're safe, relatively on the inside of this car. And it's making its way closer and closer to us. And it kind of felt like that moment in Jurassic Park in the car, and T-Rex is coming.
Yeah.
And it kind of looks like it's about to walk over to the car, but it doesn't. Walks right by us, and we're thinking, okay, it's just, I don't know why, but maybe just warning us. But next thing you know, it stops, and we turn around through the back windshield. We notice our tour bikes on the back are getting rocked back and forth. And at this point, we're like, oh shit.
Yeah, he's starting to mess with you.
Yeah, he's definitely pissed off. He's getting
sure
cranky.
this was a small rental car too. It's not you guys were in a fucking full-size truck or
yeah,
something.
It was a tiny rental car. So we're getting rocked, and the bikes are freaking getting rocked as well. And next thing you know, he throws them off the back of the rental car and just keeps going. And we bust out laughing because what else are you
You guys
gonna
got
do?
so
But
lucky.
yeah,
Once again.
yeah, once
Cheating
again,
death.
yeah.
You could have fucking flipped that car with you guys in it.
No, totally. Um, Actually, it's funny because a couple weeks later, when we finished our tour of the Lesotho Traverse, I saw a news article that was posted at Kruger National Park, and it talked about how in Pilanesberg there was a flipped over safari van, and I bet it was probably that same elephant. I bet he's a multiple
Problematic
offender.
elephant.
Yeah, I mean, people say, "Oh, these elephants are so big and peaceful." Yeah, probably most of them, but like humans, they also have their own personalities, and some are cranky bastards. So, this one was pissed off for sure. Yeah, so we got out of the rental car. We're fixing our bikes. So we're like trying to do it as fast as we can. Safari park ranger pulls up. What are you doing? We're like, we tell him like this, this guy came out of nowhere, ripped our bikes off, blah, blah, blah. You better hurry up. There are lions about. Then he just takes off in his safari car. We're like, shit. Trying to go as fast as we can. We just speed out of there.
That's actually terrifying. Elephant, yeah, you can outdrive an elephant. Lion, you're outside.
Yes.
Messing with that
No.
at night?
That's
No.
like, we're not going to see it coming, and that's it.
Yeah,
There's
he's
no getting
stalking
away. Yeah.
No, thank you.
No, not at all. So anyway, we ended up making it to Maseru eventually, which was the starting point of the Lesotho Traverse. And like South Africa was cool and very interesting. But Lesotho, the country, felt like another planet. Like everything felt so raw. I mean, to me, like Southeast Asia is like kind of comparable to like Latin America. They have like a lot of similarities, the way I see it, like in like the culture, like the food, like the bigger cities kind of have like kind of a weird similar feel. And there's a lot of big differences, of course, but something about like Lesotho felt very different and very raw. And we kind of experienced that, on our first day, just like getting into the city. It kind of felt like utter chaos. We get to we get to the we get to the spot to drop off our rental car, and there's like this gigantic muddy trail on the side of the car from where like the elephant had like swiped us.
Yeah.
There's a couple little dents in the back, and thankfully they didn't notice. We're like, okay, let's drop this off and get out of here as soon as we
threw
can.
the keys on the counter and left.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, we got out, and we start biking, and instantly we're like, this route's gonna be gnarly. We're just like, as soon as we get on the route, and mind you, it's almost all dirt roads and cattle trails with like, large round rocks everywhere, and really uneven surfaces, a little bit of single track here and there, a little bit of paved towards the end, but mostly pretty gnarly terrain, and just beautiful country. And it's different from the rest of South Africa, and then it's like a really high plain. And that's part of the reason why they were able to defend themselves as a country there, is because they have this, higher ground on a big plateau. Actually, there's actually one area where you can actually go skiing, and you would never think, around South Africa. Yeah, it's insane. But like I said, the route was about 350 miles, and like making our way through, we get to had a lot of interesting encounters with locals. Like definitely like the people there have like very raw personalities and like very energetic people from like these villages, and they're very excited to see you, and especially the kids. Everybody thinks that you have something for them. So, people will walk up to you, give me money. I want the phone. Give me your phone.
Of course.
No, thanks. Sometimes you like give them some food or whatever. But the kids, they surround you, and like sometimes they just like won't let you go if you stop. So you just have to bike through some of these small villages as fast as possible, and they will chase you for miles, and they want candy. That's like their thing. Like they really, really want candy.
Did you start picking up candy to throw these kids?
Yeah, so like I eventually would just start grabbing bags of candy, and as I'm going through, I'd hand them out here and there. But as like this horde of children got bigger and bigger following me, I would just kind of throw it to the sides. It's like I felt like I was in like a zombie apocalypse,
like,
getting
distract 'em or
followed.
something,
Yeah,
like, go over there.
exactly.
Jesus.
Yeah, pretty funny. Women there interesting too. Like very bold women I met. Like talking about marriage, and they get off the bat, pretty bold,
Yeah.
I've had like some women actually chase me from villages.
No way.
Yeah.
Just looking for that American husband.
I guess so. Yeah. And so it was really interesting culture, I would say. Most people there though is super chill and super friendly though. Not to get like any bad rap on the people of Lesotho. One funny thing I noticed that I haven't noticed in any other countries is like people will speak to you in their native language of Sesotho, and they have no idea that you have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And they'll just kind of keep going on, and you're just. One time we woke up, about 5 a.m. There's a lot of herders, like most people are sheep herders, and they have like these small ranches. But this guy, he had a giant herd of dogs with him. He probably had like 20 dogs with him. So we were cowboy camping, and we wake up one morning about 5 a.m. to like this man with a staff, and he's pounding on this rock. And we peek our heads out from the bivvy sack, and we see this guy surrounded by dogs, and he just starts going off, and he's yelling and yelling. And you think like these dogs are just gonna like all sick us at once, and we're probably just gonna get ripped apart here. And like we try to kind of show him we have no idea what he's talking about. We're shrugging our shoulders.
Yeah.
I no way of telling him in native language. He keeps going on and on for about 10-15 minutes. Eventually he just kind of looks at us, and this whole time he's very stern, yelling from this rock, pounding on this rock with a staff. Mind you, these people look like mountain warrior ninjas. They have like these they have like what looks like capes, but they're more of like ponchos, boots, ski masks, and everybody carries like a big stick with them. Yeah.
That's a fucking sick outfit.
Yeah,
right
it
there.
is a sick ass outfit. Yeah.
I would not fuck with those dudes.
No, they look badass.
Especially if you're just like waking up in the morning.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? And like that
Yeah.
dude's standing over you.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that you're so much of an outsider in such a rural place that everybody stares at you. So you look like an alien to people. Like there might be like a little kid that walks out, from his hut and just looks at you and starts crying because he just has no idea what the hell he's looking at, But a lot of people just like, they just want to talk to you. And I think that's kind of what we found out is like, people just want to chat, even if you have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah.
You just want to like, see what's up. But we had a lot of cool run-ins with locals, drank like this awesome ginger alcohol that all the locals made. We'd hang out at like the small general store in the village and drink with them if we had time. And yeah, a lot of the times we were just like, roughing it. Sometimes we would like camp close to villages. Everybody was super chill about that. The wild camping was epic. The weather was a bit of an issue. It's high elevation, so storms come in quick, and you go in and out of these valleys. And sometimes the weather would come in so quick that conditions would get so muddy. You try to get over a pass, and you just are hike-a-biking up these steep slopes and sliding back down, and it just makes it impossible. Yeah, it's not. I don't think very many people have completed this route. So it wasn't even that long. It's probably about 350 miles. It took us about a week and a half. And like, remember one day being about 16 hours long, mostly hike-a-biking across like some of the worst godforsaken terrain that I've ever witnessed. Just, I don't even know why. Like, we were just wondering at some points, like, why somebody made this a bikepacking route? It should be more of a hiking route.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why people were just saying, you will not make it. You will never make it. It is too far. So it was fun though. Like it kind of felt like I was in a video game.
Yeah,
it's
it sounds
some
like a video
adventure.
game. You know,
Yeah,
to pass the level, it's just like you will not make it. Like,
exactly.
We'll see about that, bud.
Yeah. At the end of the trip, it was super epic. Right before the end of the trip, actually, something broke. My headset on my bike broke, and I was like, shit. I was just getting into a small village, luckily, though, so I was able to take a taxi back to the capital, find the piece, come back. On the way back, there's a funny thing that happened where I was waiting for the taxi. They all use like these combis. They're basically, if you've ever been to like Mexico, they have them everywhere, like basically 16 passenger vans. And apparently there's a lot of feuds between taxi drivers. But I had no idea what was going on when I came into one, waiting for the driver. You know, I hear some commotion outside. Driver jumps in and just turns on the gas and hits the gas pedal. And we just fly out. He turns back and yells something. It's a Sutu. Everybody gets down on the floor of this van. And I'm just like, oh shit, what's going on? I felt like I was getting kidnapped. I'm lying on the ground just like, what the hell is going on? And I look to my right and left. And then I make eye contact with this guy. He just smiles at me and gives me a thumbs up. I'm like, what the hell? Somebody from the back was like, starts laughing. Everyone starts laughing. I'm like, what the hell? I come to find out that basically what happened was like the taxi drivers have this feud and they want to make sure that nobody notices that people were in this van for some reason or another. So you make everybody get down on the ground. It's just weird.
Very
I thought I was
strange.
getting kidnapped, but anyway, ended up making it, you know, going like 100 miles an hour on this mountain road back into the capital city. Made it back, finished up the last couple 100 miles, hit Sandy Pass. Sandy Pass is like one of the highest points, and it leads to the drop-off point that goes back into South Africa in the Drakensberg mountain range, which is like some of the coolest mountains I've ever witnessed. And you just like have this huge long coast going down. You drop about 7,000 feet back into South Africa, and that was kind of the end of our trip. It was super epic. And then we went to Kruger, and we spent 4 or 5 days around Kruger, just like seeing as many animals as possible. And that was my trip to Africa. I want to go back, explore different parts of Africa, but that was a great start. Yeah.
So big. It's just got to be so much to see.
No, it's absolutely insane how large the continent is, and you know, just kind of scraping the surface with what I saw.
What are some other trips in Africa that you think you'd want to do?
I'd like to go to Mozambique. I'd like to see the Swahili coast. There's a bike packing trip in Uganda that looks really interesting too, like super, super lush rainforests everywhere. I don't know. I mean, Northern Africa seems interesting. It all looks really cool. I know I'm going to have to narrow down, you know, to a couple different spots.
Yeah,
Namibia also looks super cool. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Congo, as dangerous as it is, would be an awesome place to go. Maybe have to wait a little bit for things to settle down there.
Yeah, there's probably other places.
I learned a little bit about some African countries working on the fishing boat. There was a guy on the fishing boat from South Sudan, which is like newest country in the world, and he had all these scars across his forehead, and he had a really nice set of veneer teeth. And one day he told me the story about his teeth and the scars on his head, and he told me that in his tribe, the coming of age, they carve lines across your forehead to prove you're a man. I'm like, okay, that's super gnarly. He said, that's not it. They rip out every single one of your teeth, one by one, with no anesthetic. If you don't do this, by the time you get to a certain age, the women could tell you to do whatever they wanted, and they will call you a dog.
Ridiculous.
And I was just like,
absolutely
well,
ridiculous.
I'm happy to be living in America.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
like, have you ever
absolutely
seen
insane.
just like old photos of Nazi officers and they have all the fucking scars on their faces? 'Cause,
Yeah.
like, they went to it was a similar thing, sort of, where like a lot of them went to these really nice private German schools as boys.
Yeah.
And they would fence without protection.
Yeah.
And so they would get these fucking scars on their faces, and it was like a sign of like coming from wealth and like, oh yeah, like I paid my dues. I'm like, you know, I went to a fucking nice private school and was fencing. It's like, Jesus Christ.
That is so gnarly.
Yeah.
That's a crazy culture. I heard they would like pack horsehair into their scars to make them even more pronounced.
Yeah, that's
Just to,
fucking German.
yeah.
That's a crazy one.
That is insane. Yeah, when you think about different cultures from around the world, especially in antiquity, nowadays, I mean, I feel like things are becoming more modern, you know, at a faster pace. So, like, for instance, that guy, he was talking about his experience, like, in the 60s. And there was another guy who was about 20 years younger from South Sudan, and he had a completely different experience, even though he grew up in a small village as well. And they kind of did away with a lot of those customs, you know, just within the last 15, 20 years. But this other guy, he had such a great attitude, but he had come from, you could tell, like, just the gnarliest background. He told me about several wars that he had gone through. Like, a lot of times he had no idea, like, why he was even fighting, but people would just, like, come in like, Toyotas with, like, a truck full of guns and just start handing them out, and then people just started storming, and they had nothing else to do but to shoot back. Like, food got scarce, so they had to hunt in like these grasslands. And he told me about defending his tribe from a lion and having to eat giraffe when things got scarce. And yeah, it's pretty cool. You know, that's one cool thing about traveling too, is just like, you know, learning about different cultures and backgrounds, and just hear little stories that like you would never experience otherwise, you know?
Totally. I mean, yeah, so that's like, I think at the root of it, why you travel is you kind of experience these things, and for the most part, it's just like unfathomable how different everybody's lives are on this planet, you know?
100%, yeah. And like, I talk to a lot of people here in the States, and like, they like ask them like, what countries do you want to go to? And a lot of times I hear like, oh, like I want to go to like France, or I want to go to England. I'm like,
yeah.
Well, I mean, that's cool, but like, wouldn't you want to go to a place that's like maybe a little bit more different, you know?
Yeah, I think everybody has, you know, just very different desires and like things that they want to experience. And I mean, geez, I know people that like literally have never even like been 2 hours away from their home.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to me, you know? It's like they've never been to TJ, or they've never been to
that's
LA
wild.
or something. I'm like, you've fucking been in San Diego your whole life and you've like never wanted to go anywhere else? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Trip.
That's totally wild. I mean, some people just don't have that travel bug. I think you and I, you know, we have that bug, and I think that's something that's for life, you know?
Definitely. I think one of the other things that I wanted to talk about that we didn't get a chance to talk about was the hotshot runs and the sort of events and stuff that you've been putting on lately.
Yeah, so I've been pretty busy as far as like my main job, which is a handyman. My dad is a handyman and he's retired, so I kind of took over the business, and it's a really fun job, but kind of as my side, not really hustle yet, but I've been working on it, is a personal trainer. And I like putting together events and group trainings and things like that. And one of the events that I've been doing here and there is called the Hotshot Run. And it's basically an event over at Cowles Mountain. And it starts off with, you know, groups of people. And depending on your skill range and your fitness level, you be put in different groups. And then there's different weighted balls. You know, obviously people that are more in shape, they get something like a medicine ball. Maybe in the middle range, you have something like a watermelon, and then lower range, something like an orange or a bouncy ball, whatever it may be, something light. And you have a line of people in each group. Person in the front with the ball will pass it back until the person in the back gets it. Then they rush to the front and they make it to the top. So once you get to the top, there's a cooler waiting for you. And I've been telling people, all right, let me know your drink of choice. You'll have it waiting for you, ice cold, at the top of the mountain. At the top of the mountain.
You get some good variety in those drinks?
Yeah. Yeah, get some beers, got some brews, got some dews, Gatorades, water, whatever you like. I know one of these days someone's gonna ask for like a 300 bottle of tequila or something.
Robbie baby.
Yeah,
Robbie
yeah.
baby's gonna be like, oh, can I have this like fucking $400 bottle of Irish whiskey?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So when's the next one?
You know, I don't have a date for one yet, but I will be making one soon for sure. I'm going to be actually campaigning tomorrow at Mission Bay, trying to recruit people for my group meetings. So another thing is just like group workout events, you know, and they happen like random places. It might be at Mission Trails, it might be at Mission Bay, just around San Diego. And usually it's a mixture between trail running, hiking, and some calisthenics, strength training, some stretching, some light yoga, things like that. I'm trying to figure out how to like set it up for all ranges of people, all fitness levels. It's a work in progress, and I'm just like trying to get groups together for right now. It's completely free, and I think it's super fun. And it's called Big Fun Training. Yeah,
awesome.
That's my side hustle. Yeah.
Hopefully it becomes your full-time hustle.
Yeah, that'd be
I feel
sweet.
Like you're the perfect person to be a personal trainer.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Some people that I know that are personal trainers, and like I love them, they're my friends, but you know, somebody like us, I don't really want to go to a gym, and I don't want to train in that way. Like I'd rather be outside. I'd rather be doing something that's like, you know, more stimulating and fun. And I think that seems like a really cool way to do something like that.
No, totally. Yeah, like I'm from that background too. I'm not a big fan of like going to a weight gym and just lifting up a heavy weight, you know, 25 times in a row and waiting a little bit, repeat. I mean, strength training is great and all, but like when you're outside breathing fresh air, looking at mountains like these, you know, running past trees and brush and getting some elevation gain. I don't know. I think it's a lot funner way to get your heartbeat up and to get in shape, you know, rather than going to the gym. And, you know, if you could do it with people that are like-minded and in a group, I think that makes it even funner. So I think it's a cool program. Yeah, I'm looking forward to like this next year and kind of expanding on that and maybe doing some different kinds of events and stuff. As far as the hotshot run goes, I think I've had about 4 people complete the program. Onika Miyashiro, Genki's sister, Genki Miyashiro completed it. Marianne, which is Genki's mom, had completed it.
The whole Miyashiro family did it.
Yes.
Dude, I gotta step my game up. Genki can't be out here doing this shit, and I'm not, you know?
Yeah, Genki.
That's a bad look.
Genki just did rim to rim at the Grand Canyon. Yeah.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he thought he was sick, and he's getting there.
Well, it turns out he was sick.
Yeah.
He did it.
That is true. But anyway, yeah, it's a super cool event, and I'm looking to get bigger groups going, so I'll let you know.
Yeah, dude.
When I get it going.
Please do
Yeah.
hit me up on that WhatsApp, you know?
For sure. Oh, yeah, the WhatsApp, for sure.
Do you play music when you do those events? A little speaker?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do have a speaker that I set out. I'm like still trying to figure out what's like best kind of music. I've been throwing in like funk, and then maybe sprinkle a little bit of power violence, you know,
Nice.
and
That'll get you
cumbia.
going.
Just so you know.
Some Charles Bronson.
Yeah, why not? You know, some spaz and infest, you know, get people going, you know.
Is that kind of the music that you usually listen to when you're hiking and stuff?
I listen to all types of shit, you know, like I think on my last run I listened to like some Hank Williams, Andre Nicotina, Devo, and then yeah, I've been listening to this band No Means No recently.
Sick. Punk band?
Yeah, punk band. Yeah, they're pretty interesting, pretty funny. But you know, I like to listen to like tempo type stuff too, like things that'll like coincide with the tempo of my run.
Right.
And like keep it going when I'm running uphill, things like
Try
that.
and get those BPMs to match your heart rate.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Blast beats.
Yeah.
That's what's going on inside. Your heart's like.
Yeah, I might die doing that.
Jesus.
What have you been listening to?
Oh, dude, it's all over the place. Same thing. It's like, you know, one day I'm listening to John Prine or something, and the next day I'm just listening to like, I don't know, Crass or something.
Good shit.
Yeah, I was like on a big Crass Records kick last week, so just all week at work in my headphones was like Honey Bane and Rudimentary Peni and like
Hell
all this
yeah.
anarcho shit, and then it's like, you know, next day you listen to cumbia or something.
Good shit. Cumbia, it's always, I don't know, always around my playlist too. I think for the last like 4 years, it's just like constantly a couple of those songs are like always there. The Fito Oliveras. I've been listening to like Hechicero's band.
Oh, hell yeah.
You know, like they just have so many golden hits.
It just makes you want to move. That kind
It
of
just
music,
makes you wanna
know?
move,
You want to
exactly,
be
yeah.
outside in the sunshine, enjoying it.
Exactly, 100% for sure.
So what else you got going on in your life right now?
I've been doing a lot of climbing recently. Yeah, like hitting climbing gym. As much as I was just talking shit about gyms, I mean, I go to the climbing gym.
Everybody's
Yeah.
got to go to the climbing gym though,
Yeah.
because you can't always be bouldering out here. You know?
Yeah. No, and I usually climb here on Saturdays at the Crag. Found a climbing group. You know, and it's so much fun climbing, and it's one thing. It's different from skateboarding. You know, I love skateboarding. It'd always be like, you know, part of my passion, but with climbing and running, there's like a little bit less, you know, a little bit less injuries, I'd say, like overall. But you still have that like sense of excitement, you know,
Totally.
when
Yeah,
you're
it has a
getting up
danger
off
element.
the ground. Yeah, exactly. And you get really strong and really fit doing it as well. And you got to use your mind too, and it keeps it kind of on edge, you know.
Totally. I think you're right. It has that same awareness level of skating where
Yeah,
like,
that's a
you can't
good
really
point. Yeah.
space out, you know, you have to be paying attention to
Yeah.
what you're doing.
No, totally. Yeah, just recently on that same trip doing Cactus to Clouds, I went to Joshua Tree and did some pretty cool sends out there, Joshua Tree, and did Whitney's mountaineering route as well. So I'd like to do more mountaineering this next year for sure. I mean, I just bought some crampons, and it was like my
You do
second
some ice climbing.
Yeah, ice climbing, holy shit. I got a buddy that's getting into that, and it looks so gnarly. It's just like, once you start getting in the realm of like, okay, do this climb, but do not fall. Whatever you do, don't
Yeah.
fall. That's when it gets a little bit sketchy, and I start to
I
hesitate
mean, that's
a bit.
like any free solo, anything like that.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, ice climbing, this is such a cliche with that stuff, but it's like so poetic in the way that like you're climbing a route that's never going to be done again, you know, because it's always changing.
Right, that's true.
But so fucking dangerous.
So dangerous. Yeah, and like mountaineering recently, like on Whitney. I mean, it's my second time. I'd say the first time I mountaineered was really light mountaineering, Pico de Orizaba. And like this one, it was a lot more exposure for sure, and like, you know, some pretty gnarly traverses, especially like coming off the peak, and there wasn't as much like margin for error, because I'm like, I tried not to look that much, but when I would look to the side, I would definitely see, you know, a pretty steep hillside and a pretty big cliff a lot of the time. So, you know, I'm thinking, not a good time to slide at all. But, you know, you have gear, so if you do slide, you know, you can self-arrest with your axe. You have your crampons, so you have some backups. And that's the one thing about like mountaineering or climbing is like you have some protection at some point. You know, you're relying on some protection, but that protection might become weaker and weaker as routes may be easier, but, you know, the margin for error, you know, diminishes, and you know, it could get more dangerous than you would want it to pretty quickly in that sense.
Totally. All right, well, that might be a good spot for us to end, but Steph, thank you so much for doing this,
Yeah.
dude. I've been wanting to do something like this for a really long time with you, and I'm glad that we could finally get it done, and hopefully someday make like a real full-length documentary, and maybe even go on a trip and
That would be
do
sweet.
something, you know?
That would be sweet,
But,
yeah.
thanks, man. Really
Yeah.
appreciate it. I'm looking
No
forward to sharing
problem.
this with everybody.
I think the coolest thing about this was like catching up and talking to you.
Totally, yeah, it's crazy.
Because it's been a while, like, you know, moving away from San Diego, and then like moving back, just been so busy, not being able to hang out as much. So
Yeah.
just coming to hang out with you is
Totally. We
awesome.
see each other like once every year. And
I know, right?
this time we've like fully actually caught up on everything. So stoked.
Hell yeah, dude.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, no problem. Good shit. Thanks for the pulque.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. Hell yeah,
All
dude.
right, that's good.